I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror, rehearsing the word no under my breath. Tonight would be different. Tonight, I wouldn't cave to their demands. My name is Emma, and I've spent the last decade being the family pushover, the reliable sister, the walking, talking piggy bank, but not anymore. The text from my brother Philip still glowed on my phone. Big announcement tonight, don't be late. I knew exactly what that meant. He and his wife Mia had been house hunting for months, dropping not-so-subtle hints about needing family support to achieve their dreams. I pulled up to their current house, a perfectly nice 3-bedroom that apparently wasn't good enough anymore. The driveway was already full, with Harper's car and our family friend Eric's SUV. Emma, Mia's voice carried across the front yard as I got out of my car. You're finally here. Her smile was too bright, too practiced. She wrapped me in a perfume-heavy hug. We were starting to worry. Traffic, I lied, following her inside. The truth was, I'd spent an extra 20 minutes circling the block, gathering courage. The living room buzzed with conversation. Harper, my younger sister, shot me a knowing look from her perch on the armchair. She'd been warning me about tonight for weeks. There's my successful sister, Philip boomed, crossing the room to give me an exaggerated kiss on the cheek. Always working late, aren't you? Must be nice having all that disposable income. I forced a smile, remembering my grandfather's words from years ago. Money talks, but wealth whispers. If only they knew about the meetings with Reed, the late nights planning, the business proposal that was finally coming together. Wine? Mia appeared at my elbow with a glass already poured. We got your favorite. Eric caught my eye from across the room and raised his eyebrows slightly. He'd been around long enough to recognize their manipulation tactics. Dinner was a carefully orchestrated performance. Mia had outdone herself with a 3-course meal that screamed, "We're trying to impress you." The conversation stayed superficial until dessert arrived. So, Philip cleared his throat, setting down his fork. Mia and I have some exciting news to share. Here it comes. We found our dream home. Mia clasped her hands together. It's absolutely perfect. 5 bedrooms, a pool, that gorgeous open concept we've always wanted. That's wonderful, Harper said carefully. But isn't the market a bit steep right now? Well, that's actually why we wanted everyone here tonight. Philip leaned forward. We've been crunching the numbers, and with Emma's help, we could make it work. The table fell silent. All eyes turned to me. My help? I kept my voice steady. We know you've been saving for years, Mia jumped in. And family helps family, right? We'd pay you back, of course, eventually. I took a slow sip of wine. How much are we talking about? Just a small loan. Philip waved his hand dismissively. Around $200,000. I nearly choked. $200,000. You've always been so good with money, Mia pressed. And it's not like you're doing anything with it. No husband, no kids, no real plans. Actually, I set down my glass. I do have plans for my savings. What plans? Philip scoffed. Another investment account. More cryptocurrency experiments. I don't think that's any of your business, I said quietly. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Wow, Philip's voice hardened. So that's how it is, after everything we've done for you? What exactly have you done for me, Philip? Harper shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Eric suddenly became very interested in his napkin. We're family. Mia's voice wavered theatrically. We're supposed to support each other, help each other achieve our dreams. And what about my dreams? The words came out sharper than I intended. Dreams? Philip laughed. You mean hiding away in your apartment, hoarding money like some dragon? That's not a dream, Emma. That's just being selfish. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I think I should go. Of course you're running away, Philip called after me as I headed for the door. That's what you do best, isn't it? Hide from responsibility, from family. I paused at the threshold, my hand on the doorknob. Part of me wanted to turn around and tell them everything. About Reed, about the business plan, about the years of preparation, but I remembered another piece of grandfather's wisdom. Success is the best revenge. Thank you for dinner, I said instead, and walked out into the night, leaving their accusations hanging in the air behind me. In my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Reed. Board meeting tomorrow, bring the final proposal. I smiled. Let them think I was useless for now. Soon enough, they'd learn just how wrong they were. The fallout came faster than I expected. By noon the next day, my phone was flooded with messages from extended family members, each one more accusatory than the last. How could you do this to your own brother? Read an aunt's text. I silenced my phone and focused on the laptop screen in front of me, double-checking my presentation for Reed. The coffee shop's ambient noise usually helped me concentrate, but today every whispered conversation felt like it might be about me. Earth to Emma, Tabitha's voice cut through my spiral. My best friend waved her hand in front of my face. You've been staring at that same slide for 10 minutes. Sorry, I rubbed my eyes. It's just, Philip and Mia have been busy. What do you mean? I handed her my phone. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through the messages. Wow, she whistled. They really went nuclear. Emma has abandoned her family in their time of need. She's always been the selfish one. Who wrote this? A soap opera writer. That would be Mia's sister, I said, taking a sip of my now cold coffee. Apparently, I'm also destroying their chance at starting a family. In a 5-bedroom house, Tabitha snorted. Because babies need Olympic-sized pools? The bell above the coffee shop door chimed, and I looked up to see Eric walking in. My stomach dropped when I saw his expression. Hey, he said, pulling up a chair. You need to know what happened at the family brunch this morning. Family brunch? I frowned. What family brunch? The one Philip and Mia organized, last-minute thing. He ordered a coffee from a passing barista before continuing. They told everyone about your savings, how much you have, what you could do with it, how you're hoarding it while they struggle. My hands started shaking. How do they even know how much I have? That's the thing. Eric leaned forward. I overheard something interesting. Mia was talking to her sister in the kitchen. Apparently, Philip's been monitoring your accounts somehow. What? The word came out as a whisper. He mentioned something about still having access from when he helped you set up your first investment account years ago. The realization hit me like a truck. 10 years ago, when I'd first started saving, Philip had helped me open some accounts. I'd been so naive, so trusting of my big brother. That's illegal, Tabitha said, her lawyer instincts kicking in. We can report him for that. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Harper. We need to talk. Can you meet me at the park in 20? Go, Tabitha urged. I'll clean up here and email you my notes on the presentation. The park was quiet for a weekday afternoon. Harper was already there, pacing near the fountain where we used to play as kids. I didn't know about the brunch, she said, as soon as I approached. I would have warned you. It's fine, I said, even though it wasn't. No, it's not fine. Harper's voice cracked. You should have heard them, Emma. The way they talked about you. And then I found out about Philip accessing your accounts. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. What did you do? I called them out. Right there at brunch. Asked Philip how he knew so much about your finances. She smiled grimly. You should have seen his face. He started stammering about family transparency and financial responsibility. Let me guess, Mia jumped to his defense. Of course, said I was being dramatic. But Eric backed me up, started asking questions too. That's when things got really ugly. I sat down on a nearby bench, suddenly exhausted. How ugly? Philip said some things about Grandpa, about how his business failed in the end, how you're just following in his footsteps, destined to fail too. My throat tightened. Our grandfather's business hadn't failed. He'd sold it to retire, to spend his last years teaching us about entrepreneurship. But Philip had always twisted that narrative. There's more. Harper sat beside me. They're planning something. I heard Mia on the phone after everyone left, talking about finding out where you're getting your business loans, something about making some calls. My upcoming meeting with Reed flashed through my mind. If they interfered with that, Emma, Harper touched my arm. What are you going to do? I pulled out my phone and dialed Reed's number. It was time to accelerate the timeline. Reed? We need to move up the board meeting. Yes, I know it's sudden. No, it can't wait. I took a deep breath, because my brother is trying to sabotage us before we even begin. As I hung up, I caught Harper's worried expression. Don't worry, I said, standing up. I learned more from Grandpa than just business strategies. I learned how to protect what's mine. The old Emma might have backed down, might have given in to keep the peace, but that Emma died the moment they tried to steal my dreams. Reed's office always reminded me of my grandfather's study. Dark wood, leather chairs, and the faint smell of coffee. Today, though, it felt like a war room. Your brother did what? Reed set down his coffee mug with more force than necessary. Accessed my accounts without permission, I said, spreading the bank statements across his desk. And now he's trying to interfere with our investors. That little... Reed caught himself. Sorry, I've known your family for years, but this is a new low, even for Philip. A knock at the door interrupted us. Tabitha entered carrying her laptop. You're going to want to see this, she said, turning the screen toward us. Mia's been busy on LinkedIn, reaching out to every investor and venture capitalist in our network. Reed leaned forward, scanning the messages. She's telling them Emma's business plan is stolen, that it's actually Philip's idea. That's not even the worst part. Tabitha scrolled down. She's claiming Emma has a history of financial fraud. My hands clenched into fists. They're trying to destroy everything before we even launch. Well, Reed stood up, straightening his tie. They picked the wrong people to mess with. Emma, remember that angel investor I mentioned? The one who was on the fence? I nodded. He just called. Apparently someone tried to warn him about investing with us. Reed smiled. It backfired. He said, anyone who has that many people trying to stop them must be onto something good. He's in for twice his original offer. Really? The knot in my stomach loosened slightly. Really, and that's not all. Reed pulled a folder from his desk drawer. Remember those market research reports you did last year? The ones Philip claimed were his idea. Yes? You dated and notarized every document. Smart girl. We have proof that this was your project from the beginning. My phone buzzed. Harper again. Emergency family meeting tonight. Mom's insisting. Don't worry, I've got your back. Go, Reed said, reading my expression. Show them you're not afraid. Tabitha and I will keep working here. The family home looked exactly the same as it had for 20 years, but walking up the driveway felt like entering enemy territory. Harper met me at the door. Mom's in the kitchen, she whispered. Philip and Mia are already here. They don't know I warned you. I could hear voices from the kitchen, Philip's rising above the others. She's throwing away her future on some pipe dream. We're trying to help her. By accessing my bank accounts illegally, I said loudly, walking into the kitchen. The room fell silent. Mom stood by the sink, looking tired. Philip and Mia sat at the counter, while Eric leaned against the fridge. Emma, Mom started. We need to talk about what? I interrupted. About how my brother committed fraud? Or about how his wife is spreading lies to sabotage my business? They're not lies. Mia stood up. We're protecting the family from your reckless, Eric cut in. Like buying a house you can't afford? Stay out of this, Philip snapped. No, I don't think I will. Eric crossed his arms. Someone needs to point out how insane this is. You're destroying your sister's reputation because she won't give you money? We're trying to save her from making a huge mistake. Philip's face was red now. Dad always said, Dad's not here, I said quietly. But Grandpa taught me everything I needed to know about business and about family. Grandpa was a failure, Philip shouted. The kitchen went deadly quiet. Mom gasped. A failure. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. Grandpa sold his business for enough money to retire comfortably, and put all three of us through college. But you know what the real difference between you and him was? Philip glared at me. He built something you just want to take. Emma, Mom's voice was pleading. Can't we find a compromise? Actually, yes. I turned to Philip and Mia. Stay away from my business. Stop contacting investors. Stop spreading lies, or I'll press charges for financial fraud. You wouldn't dare, Mia whispered. Try me. Harper stepped forward. And she won't be alone. I've documented everything. Harper. Philip looked betrayed. You're choosing her side. I'm choosing the truth, Harper said. And Monday morning, I'm accepting Emma's job offer. What job offer? Mom looked confused. I smiled for the first time that evening. Harper's going to be my chief marketing officer. Turns out, she's been taking online courses in digital marketing for months, preparing for this. You're both making a huge mistake. Philip stood up, grabbing his keys. Don't come crying to us when this all falls apart. As they stormed out, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from Reed. Board meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Time to show them what you're really made of. I looked at Harper, then at Eric, who both nodded encouragingly. Game on. The board meeting was scheduled for 9, but I arrived at 7, needing the quiet to settle my nerves. The conference room overlooked the city, still hazy in the morning light. You're early, Reed's voice startled me. He set 2 coffee cups on the table. Couldn't sleep either. Not really. I adjusted my presentation materials for the 10th time. What if Philip's right? What if this all falls apart? Is that you talking, or is that your brother's voice in your head? Before I could answer, the receptionist appeared at the door. Package for Emma. It was left at the front desk. The manila envelope had no return address. Inside, I found documents, bank statements, credit reports, loan applications, all belonging to Philip and Mia. Oh my God, I whispered, spreading them across the table. Reed leaned over my shoulder. Are these? They're drowning in debt, I said, scanning the papers. Credit cards, personal loans, gambling accounts. They're practically bankrupt. That explains the desperate grab for your savings. Reed picked up one of the statements. But who sent these? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Thought you should know what you're dealing with. Who's T? Reed asked. I think it's Tabitha. She works at the bank where Philip has his accounts. Be careful with these. Reed gathered the papers. This kind of information, it could destroy them. Isn't that what they tried to do to me? Yes, but the conference room door opened as board members began arriving. I quickly stuffed the envelope into my briefcase. But my mind was racing. This was ammunition, powerful ammunition. The presentation went better than I'd hoped. My voice stayed steady as I outlined the business plan, the market research, the projected returns. When I finished, there was a moment of silence. Impressive, said Marcus, the lead investor. Very impressive. But we heard some concerning rumors. About my brother. I took a deep breath. Yes, he's been spreading misinformation. I can prove that everything in this proposal is my original work. Actually, Marcus smiled. The rumors made us more interested. Anyone who generates that much opposition from their own family must be onto something disruptive. 2 hours later, I stood in Reed's office, still processing. They approved it. They actually approved it. Of course they did. Reed was beaming. It's a solid plan. Now we can. My phone rang. Harper. Emma, turn on the local news. Now. Reed grabbed the remote, flipping to Channel 6. There was Philip, standing outside his house, talking to reporters. My sister's business venture is built on stolen ideas and family money. We're concerned about her mental state. I felt the blood drain from my face. He's really doing this, I whispered. He's trying to poison the well before we even launch. Emma, Reed's voice was careful. Those documents you received this morning could ruin him, I finished, just like he's trying to ruin me. But using them would make you just like him. I pulled the envelope from my briefcase, staring at it. What if I just leaked the gambling debts? The public has a right to know who they're listening to. They do, Reed agreed. But is that really how you want to win? My phone buzzed again. Tabitha, those documents were just FYI. Your call, what you do with them. I sat down heavily in Reed's leather chair. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do, Reed said quietly. You're just afraid to do it. He was right. I knew exactly what I needed to do, what Grandpa would have done. But the thought of taking the high road when Philip was fighting so dirty. Another text came through, this time from Eric. Saw the news. Remember what you told me about wanting to make Grandpa proud? I looked at the envelope again, then at the TV where Philip was still speaking, his face a mask of fake concern. The desire for revenge burned in my chest. If I don't fight back, I said, he wins. No. Reed shook his head. If you fight like him, he wins. Because then you become exactly what he's accusing you of being. I stood up, walked to Reed's shredder, and held the envelope over it. My hand shook. The best revenge, Reed said softly, is massive success. I let go. The shredder whirred, turning Philip's secrets into confetti. Okay, I turned to Reed. Let's do this right. No shortcuts, no revenge plays, just good honest business. That's my girl, Reed smiled. Now, let's talk launch strategy. I have some ideas that will make your brother's little TV appearance look like amateur hour. I sat back down, pulled out my notebook, and started planning. Philip might have the media's attention now, but soon enough, they'd have a different story to tell. 3 weeks after shredding those documents, I sat in my new office, watching our company website go live. Harper had outdone herself with the design, incorporating elements that subtly honored our grandfather's legacy. Ready? She asked, finger hovering over the publish button. Do it. The site went live with a soft ping. Within minutes, the first orders started rolling in. It's working, Harper whispered, staring at the dashboard. Emma, it's actually working. My phone rang. Reed. Turn on channel 6 again, right now. This time, it wasn't Philip on screen. It was me. Or rather, the interview I'd given last week about our company's mission to revolutionize sustainable urban farming. The reporter was highlighting our partnership with local food banks and community centers. In contrast to recent allegations, the reporter said, documents show this business model has been in development for over 2 years, with strong community support and significant private investment. Harper squeezed my hand. They're telling the truth. The truth has a way of coming out, I said, just as my office door burst open. Mia stormed in, face flushed. How dare you? This is a private office. Harper stood up. You can't just... You're destroying us. Mia slammed her hands on my desk. The bank called this morning. They're denying our mortgage because of your little PR stunt. My PR stunt? I kept my voice level. You mean the legitimate business launch that proves I'm not mentally unstable or stealing ideas? They're asking questions about our finances now, looking into everything. Mia's voice cracked. Philip can't sleep. He's drinking again. The guilt I'd been suppressing started to surface. But Harper stepped in. That's not Emma's fault, she said firmly. Your financial problems started long before this. You don't understand. Mia collapsed into a chair. We needed that house. It was our fresh start. If we could just get ahead, just once. By stealing my savings? I asked quietly. By borrowing them, Mia snapped. We would have paid you back. Like you paid back the others? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Mia's head snapped up. What others? I think you should leave. Harper moved toward the door. You know, don't you? Mia's eyes narrowed. About the debts, the gambling, who told you? It doesn't matter, I said. What matters is that I chose not to use that information, even when you and Philip were trying to destroy me. You expect me to believe that? Mia laughed bitterly. You're just waiting for the right moment to strike, to humiliate us completely. Actually, I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a business card. I was waiting for the right moment to give you this. Mia took the card hesitantly. A financial advisor, the best in the city. She specializes in debt restructuring and rehabilitation. She can help you and Philip if you let her. Why would you? Mia's voice trailed off. Because despite everything, you're family. And this is what Grandpa would have done. The office fell silent, except for the quiet ping of new orders coming in. I can't accept this. Mia stood up, but her hand clutched the card tightly. Yes, you can, I said. Consider it my housewarming gift, just not for the house you wanted. For one you can actually afford. Mia's phone buzzed. She looked at it, then at me with wide eyes. Philip's outside. He's furious about the news coverage. Go, I nodded toward the door. Take care of him. And Mia? The offer stands, but only if you both stop fighting me. After she left, Harper let out a long breath. That was either really smart or really stupid. Maybe both, I smiled. Turning back to our order dashboard, the numbers were climbing steadily. My phone buzzed with a text from Eric. Saw the news. Saw Mia storm into your building. You okay? Better than okay, I replied. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Harper leaned over my shoulder, watching the orders roll in. You know this isn't over, right? Philip won't give up easily. I know, I said, thinking of the financial advisor's card in Mia's hand. But maybe we just changed the game. The website pinged again. Another order, this one larger than the others. The client name made me catch my breath. Harper, I pointed to the screen. Look who just placed an order. She squinted, then grinned. The same luxury housing developer that rejected Philip and Mia's mortgage application. Karma, I said, has a sense of humor. We spent the rest of the afternoon fulfilling orders, each ping a reminder that success doesn't require destroying others. Sometimes it just requires outlasting them. The quarterly family dinner arrived faster than I expected. Mom had insisted on hosting, claiming it was time to heal the rift. I stood on her porch, holding a bottle of wine and fighting the urge to run. You don't have to do this, Tabitha said from behind me. I'd asked her to come as moral support. Yes, I do. I rang the doorbell. Mom opened the door, relief washing over her face. Emma and Tabitha, what a lovely surprise. The living room fell silent as we entered. Eric and Harper were already there, along with Philip and Mia. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Nice of you to join us, Philip said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Business keeping you busy? Actually, yes. I sat down, noticing how Mia wouldn't meet my eyes. The urban farming initiative is expanding faster than we projected. I saw your interview in Business Weekly. Eric jumped in. The part about sustainable community development was brilliant. Philip snorted. Community development? Is that what we're calling it? Dinner's ready, Mom called from the kitchen, her voice slightly too high. We filed into the dining room, taking our usual seats. The first few minutes were filled with nothing but the sound of cutlery against plates. So, Mom tried. Harper, how are you liking your new job? Before Harper could answer, Philip cut in. Oh, I'm sure she loves it. Nothing like riding your sister's coattails. Philip, Mom snapped. What? We're all thinking it. Harper gets a cushy executive position with no experience. I have a master's in digital marketing, Harper interrupted, and 3 years of freelance experience. But you'd know that if you ever bothered to ask about my life, instead of just asking for money. Speaking of money, Mia spoke for the first time, her voice quiet. We saw that financial advisor. The table went silent. And? I asked carefully. She's helping us create a payment plan. Mia stared at her plate. We're selling our house, moving into something smaller. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Are you? Philip pushed his chair back. Are you really sorry, Emma? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks exactly like what you wanted. To humiliate us. That's enough. Eric stood up. Emma tried to help you. She could have exposed your gambling debts, your credit card fraud. Eric, I warned, but it was too late. How did you know about that? Philip's face went pale, then red. The bank records, you did leak them. No, she didn't. Tabitha spoke up. I work at the bank, remember? I saw the red flags and warned her. She chose not to use the information. Chose not to use it? Philip laughed bitterly. She's using it right now. Look at her, playing the saint while our lives fall apart. Your lives are falling apart because of your choices, Harper said firmly, not Emma's. Always defending her, Philip spat. Tell me, did she promise you stock options for your loyalty? Actually, Harper smiled coldly. I earned my shares through hard work. Something you might want to try sometime. Mom burst into tears. Great. Philip threw his napkin down. Now look what you've done. What I've done. I stood up slowly. Let's talk about what you've done, Philip. You accessed my accounts illegally. You tried to steal my savings. You went on television to discredit me. And now you're angry because I succeeded despite your best efforts to stop me. I was protecting you. From what? Success? Independence? The chance to make Grandpa proud. Grandpa was a fool who got lucky. The sound of Mom's hand hitting the table made everyone jump. Enough. Your grandfather was a great man who taught you both about business and family. Emma understood those lessons. You, Philip, only heard what you wanted to hear. Mom, Philip started. No, I've watched this fight destroy our family for months. Emma offered you help, real help, not just money. Take it or leave it. But this ends tonight. Mia touched Philip's arm. She's right. We need to stop. Fine. Philip grabbed his keys. You all want to worship at the altar of Saint Emma. Go ahead. I'm done. Philip, wait. Mom called. But he was already gone, the front door slamming behind him. Mia stood up slowly. I should go after him. But Emma, thank you for the advisor. She's really helping. After they left, Mom turned to me with tears in her eyes. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. And Grandpa would be too. My phone buzzed. A text from Reed. Board wants to meet tomorrow. Big news about international expansion. I looked around the table at the faces of those who had stood by me. Harper, Eric, Tabitha, Mom. Success was sweet, but having their support was sweeter. Anyone want dessert? Mom asked, wiping her eyes. Actually, I smiled. I think I might have something better to celebrate with tomorrow, if you're all free for lunch. The conference room buzzed with excitement. Reed stood at the head of the table, grinning like a kid at Christmas. Mom, Harper, Eric, and Tabitha sat along one side, while the board members filled the other. Ladies and gentlemen, Reed began. What started as a local urban farming initiative has caught international attention. Our sustainable model has attracted investors from across Europe and Asia. I watched Mom's eyes widen as Reed displayed the projection figures on the screen. With this expansion, he continued, we're looking at growing our operation tenfold within the next 18 months. Emma, Marcus, the lead investor, leaned forward. This is beyond our most optimistic projections. How do you want to proceed? Before I could answer, the conference room door burst open. Philip stumbled in, disheveled and clearly drunk. Of course, he slurred. Another family meeting I wasn't invited to. Sir, you can't be in here. Security appeared behind him. It's okay. I held up my hand. He's my brother. Brother. Philip laughed bitterly. Now you claim me as family, when you're showing off your big success. Philip, please. Mom stood up. You're embarrassing yourself. No, Mom. I'm finally seeing things clearly. He grabbed a chair, nearly falling into it. You all think she's so perfect. Emma the savior, Emma the businesswoman. But I know the truth. And what truth is that? Reed asked calmly. She stole it all from me. The ideas, the connections, everything. Philip pulled out his phone. And I can prove it. Actually, Marcus spoke up. You can't. We've vetted every aspect of this business thoroughly. The intellectual property is clearly documented, dating back years before your claims. You don't understand, Philip's voice cracked. This was supposed to be my chance, my opportunity to prove myself. By stealing my savings, I asked quietly. By investing in something real, something that would make Dad proud. The room fell silent. Dad had been gone for 15 years, but his shadow still loomed large. Philip, I said softly. Dad would have been proud of you for building something of your own, not for trying to take from others. Don't pretend you know what he would have wanted. He stood up, swaying slightly. You were always Grandpa's favorite, always the golden child. And now look, everyone's here celebrating your success while my life falls apart. Your life is falling apart because of your choices, Harper said. Emma offered to help you fix things. Fix things? Philip laughed. You mean control things, like she always does. That's enough. Reed stepped forward. Security will escort you out now. Wait, I stood up. Philip, look at me. He turned, his eyes bloodshot and unfocused. I'm not your enemy. I never was. Everything you accused me of, being selfish, being controlling, that's what you've been doing. And it's not too late to change that. Change? He scoffed. Into what? Your loyal subject. Into the brother I used to look up to. I pulled an envelope from my briefcase. The one who taught me about investment accounts in the first place. What's that? A job offer. We're expanding our financial department. You have the skills, Philip. Real skills. When you're not, I gestured at his current state. But it comes with conditions, rehab, counseling, working with that financial advisor. The room held its breath. You're offering me a job? His voice was barely a whisper. After everything? I'm offering you a chance. The same chance Grandpa gave all of us. To build something real. Philip stared at the envelope for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, he started crying. I can't, he choked out. I can't face everyone after what I've done. Mom stood up and walked over to him. Yes, you can. Because that's what family does. We face things together. The choice is yours, I said, setting the envelope on the table. But whatever you decide, this ends today. No more attacks, no more sabotage. Philip looked around the room, at the board members watching with interest, at Harper's cautious expression, at Mom's hopeful eyes. He swallowed hard. I need help. Then let us help you, I said. The real way, not the easy way. He nodded slowly, then turned to the board members. I'm sorry for interrupting your meeting, and I'm sorry for everything I said about Emma and the company. None of it was true. Marcus nodded approvingly. Admitting mistakes takes courage. Perhaps there's hope for you yet. As security gently led Philip out, Mom squeezed my hand. You're doing the right thing. Am I? I whispered back. After everything he did. Yes, Reed joined us. Because you're not just building a business, Emma. You're rebuilding a family. The board meeting resumed, but my mind was on that envelope. Inside wasn't just a job offer. It was a chance at redemption. For all of us. Sometimes, the biggest victories aren't in the boardroom. They're in the moments we choose grace over revenge. The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee from our rooftop garden cafe. As I reviewed the quarterly reports, our urban farming initiative had transformed the city's skyline, with green terraces dotting the concrete jungle. Mind if I join you? Philip set down 2 coffee cups, looking healthier than I'd seen him in years. 6 months of rehab and therapy had worked wonders. Perfect timing, I gestured to the reports. The financial projections you prepared are impressive. Well, I learned from the best. He smiled slightly, though Grandpa might argue with some of my more conservative estimates. Speaking of arguments, I set down my tablet. How did the meeting with the bank go? Better than expected. Mia and I are approved for the new condo. It's small, but it's ours. Really ours this time. The door to the rooftop opened, and Harper burst out. Emma, the Singapore team is on the line. They want to discuss expanding the vertical farming model to other Asian markets. Tell them I'll be right there. I started gathering my papers. Actually, Philip cleared his throat. Maybe I could take that call. I've been studying the Asian market projections, and I have some ideas about sustainable scaling. Harper and I exchanged looks. Your call, Emma, she said carefully. I studied my brother's face. Not a trace of the old arrogance, just genuine interest and maybe a hint of hope. Go for it. I handed him my tablet. But Philip, make us proud. He nodded and headed inside, already reviewing the data. That was big of you, Harper said, taking his vacant seat. Trust has to start somewhere. Emma, Mom's voice carried across the rooftop. She was leading a tour group, something she'd started doing since joining our community outreach program. Come tell everyone about how your grandfather inspired all this. I walked over to the group, noticing Eric among them, filming for our documentary series. The truth is, I began, this isn't just my story. It's a family story. About falling apart and coming back together. About choosing growth over greed. And about forgiveness, Eric asked from behind his camera. I caught sight of Mia entering the rooftop, carrying boxes of fresh produce from our ground-level gardens. She waved, no longer afraid to meet my eyes. Yes, I smiled. About forgiveness, but also about accountability. Real change doesn't come from revenge or resentment. It comes from facing our mistakes and choosing to do better. Speaking of doing better, Tabitha appeared with Reed, both grinning. Wait until you hear what your brother just did on that call. Did he mess up? My stomach tightened. Quite the opposite, Reed beamed. He just secured our largest international contract yet. Turns out, his conservative financial projections impressed them more than any aggressive growth strategy could have. Mom excused herself from the tour group and rushed over. Really, Philip did that. Really, Tabitha confirmed. And he gave Emma full credit for the business model. Said it was her vision that made it all possible. I felt tears threatening and blinked them back. Where is he now? Right here, Philip's voice came from behind me. He looked shell-shocked. Emma, I don't know what to say. Say you'll join us for dinner tonight. Mom jumped in. All of us. At the old house, I found Grandpa's old recipe book. The one with his secret sauce formula? Harper's eyes lit up. The very same. Mom smiled. I think it's time to pass it on to the next generation of entrepreneurs. First, Reed interrupted. We need to discuss this contract. Emma, your brother's strategy was brilliant, but we'll need your final approval on the details. I looked around the rooftop, at our thriving gardens, at Mom's proud face, at Harper's excitement, at Mia's peaceful smile, at Eric capturing it all on camera, finally at Philip, standing tall and clear-eyed, holding the tablet with our company's future on it. The details can wait until tomorrow, I said. Tonight, we celebrate as a family. But the Singapore team, Philip started. We'll still be there tomorrow, I finished. Some things are more important than business. Grandpa would be proud, Mom said softly, of all of you. As everyone headed inside to finish up their day, I lingered on the rooftop for a moment. The setting sun painted the city gold, glinting off our garden terraces and solar panels. Below, I could see people gathering at our community market, buying fresh produce, grown right here in the city. This was what success looked like, not just profitable quarters and international contracts, but healing and growth. Real, sustainable growth, in every sense of the word. Coming? Philip held the door open. Yeah, I smiled, gathering my things. I'm coming. We had built something bigger than a business. We had rebuilt our family, one difficult conversation, one act of forgiveness, one small victory at a time. And that was worth more than all the revenge in the world.